Hello there, everybody. Welcome into the Valley News Now digital desk. Gabriel Ostler here at the Valley News Live studios. And we have a very wonderful guest in today. Not quite James Taylor, but definitely still a walking man. Pardon me. Dr. Dennis Godby here. Part of his walk through America has taken him into Fargo, North Dakota, and he is now with us in studio. So, Dennis, how you feeling today?
I feel fantastic now that I'm done.
Yeah. Well, tell me just a little bit about the mission in general, because I know we're going to get into particulars of where you've been walking and the logistics and everything.
Yeah.
But this is all for a more equitable health system for Americans, to raise awareness for that cause. And I just want you to paint the picture for me of what that would look like in your ideal America if everybody had the health care that you felt that they deserved.
Well, I'm a naturopathic doctor, so for me, it's not just about living or surviving, it's about being at optimal health. So that's what we're always encouraging. It's not so much to not have a negative, but have a positive. And so health equity is a term when everyone has an opportunity to be equally healthy. Like, for example, a person's zip code determines their longevity more than their genetics or their lifestyle. So health equity, and saying it in a positive way, or the social determinants of health, would be everyone has that opportunity, and currently they don't.
And how did you arrive at walking as sort of like the best way to get this message across? I know you mentioned in the press release this was kind of inspired during the COVID era and the lockdown. So what made you settle on this motive?
Well, I've been doing these walks and runs. They used to be runs until I tore my meniscus, age-related. But I've been doing these runs and walks since age 21. When I was a student at Oregon State University, I ran from Corvallis to Calgary, Alberta, Canada, to promote exercise and nutrition when I was an exercise physiology major at Oregon State. And so I've been doing these as a way, because most of the time people that I see on the streets that I meet, or the media, whoever sees that when a person's willing to put their body on the line, it's the only body they have for a cause, then maybe they take it more serious. And that's why I did the walking, is because during COVID time, as a naturopathic doctor, people were arguing about vaccines or no vaccines, or masks or no mask, and this is the time when there was a lot of unrest, and George Floyd, and a lot of different things were going on. And I just felt that I needed to return to put my values on the line, and walking was the best way, because if I just talk, I'm just another person. But if I actually put my body on the line, that people take the issue more serious.
And speaking of putting your body on the line, of course, you mentioned in that release that you just had open heart surgery back in May, so pretty recently. Walk me a little bit through that procedure, and I mean, you're a doctor, but is this on doctor's orders out here, getting back out and being active again?
Yeah. Well, the reason for it was because I had severe mitral valve regurgitation, and so not atherosclerosis and other things, but my cardiologists were actually my #1 supporters. And they told me that if I got the surgery done early enough, that I could actually make it would only take about 2 months for my heart to recover, and the actual incision or cut, that took much longer, 3 months. But my resting heart rate is returning a little bit more towards normal. It used to be in the low 50s per minute, and now it went up after the surgery, went up into the 70s, and it's returning. So I feel like I'm getting in better and better shape as time goes on. But I'm really looking forward to start lifting weights and doing those things, because I haven't been able to do that. So I felt like kind of out of shape, and I didn't have as much time to train because I was recovering from the surgery.
My dad, he's doing fine, but he also has a slightly enlarged aorta, so they just told him, like, don't go crazy, don't go like full physical exertion with the weightlifting and stuff like that. And he's bummed because he likes feeling in shape and being active like that. So I feel where you're coming from on wanting to get back out there.
Yeah.
Well, I also want to ask then about the walking itself. You mentioned that you see tens of thousands of people just with the vast amount of terrain that you cover. I'm sure most of that is in passing, like when you're walking on the highway, maybe some strange looks that you get. But what's the average response that you get when you actually get to talk to people and you tell them about what you're doing?
Yeah, well, I mean, people were pretty much blown away. I mean, even though these things are not, back in 1978, they were, almost unheard of. Almost nobody ever did that. And they're still rare, and so people are just really surprised. And so the first thing I tell people is that I'm walking across the United States, And then I tell them that I'm a naturopathic doctor from California, and then I tell them I'm walking for health equity, because I'm trying to get their interest, to pique their interest first. Because I don't know if they're interested in health equity or not, but at least they know that I'm walking, and that puts me in a better position to talk with them. And I would say probably close to 100%, if not 100% of the people that I've talked with about health equity have been on board, and they really are. And the devil's in the details, and we don't do politics. I don't talk about politics. In fact, my business card even has different colors that don't have blue and red on it, so that we don't go there.
No associations whatsoever. It's just
And on this particular walk, I'm trying to talk to everybody, no matter who everyone supports, because what's important is, do you believe everyone has the right and should have the opportunity to be optimally healthy? And I believe most Americans do.
And then, obviously the answer to this is going to be Fargo, North Dakota.
Yeah.
But what has been your favorite place to walk? What's the most gorgeous scenery that you've been around? Like, what's the friendliest people? What's been the highlights of this for you? Because I know we're 3/5 of the way into the trip, so you've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Are there any particular highlights you want to share?
Yeah, well, tonight I'm planning to maybe go to a microbrewery and celebrate, so then I can tell you more about the Fargo people. And I just got here, so I don't know. But I would say that the people were wonderful. I mean, Americans have a lot in common. And regardless of whether I'm in North Carolina or Kentucky or Indiana, or this is the 9th state now that I've been through, people, I think, are relatively similar in the sense that they're always willing to help. They're very kind. And I think the word that really, almost getting broken up about is the kindness that so many people have manifested. So many people have gone out of the way for my fellow naturopathic doctors have supported me along the way, and people driving, dozens and dozens of miles to pick me up and drop me off exactly where I left off. But I really have enjoyed, I enjoyed Minneapolis, had a great experience there. And it's also because I met up with some friends that I hadn't seen for a long time. I really loved Milwaukee, and just had so many incredibly wonderful experiences.
That's awesome. Yeah, the cities are absolutely beautiful. I'm a California guy myself.
Okay.
I'm from the Bay Area, so just about hour and a half from where you're at. So I did appreciate, that you're getting out tomorrow and you're going back to my home state. So I appreciate that as well.
Yeah.
Well, tell me just a little bit about where the rest of this journey takes you, because obviously we're 3/5 of the way through, so we're not done with this specifically.
Right.
But how long do you see yourself continuing to just do this for and advance these causes?
Well, it depends on. Hopefully my wife won't listen to this interview, but but next year I'm going to go from Fargo, the great city of Fargo. And I really seriously have been looking forward to it, because I've never been to, I've been to North Dakota, but I've never been to Fargo, I don't believe. So Fargo to Helena, Montana. And then from, that will be next year, about the same time of the year, trying to get the best climate weather, because I'm in California and I'm not in North Dakota.
I mean, for us, it's a little bit warmer this time of year than we normally have, but it's probably very nice for you out there today.
It is a lot windier than it is, and I imagine it's going to be a lot of wind going across the prairie. And then in 26, I'll be going from Helena, Montana to Seattle. Next year is going to be the most brutal, because of the fact that, not because it's North Dakota, but because there's not that many towns.
Right.
And so anybody that would like to comment and tell me any ideas about getting across North Dakota through, because most of the time there are convenience stores, or there are, in the other states I've been through, and there have been towns, every 25 miles or so, and not always, but in North Dakota, I've already looked at the map many times. My brother David is going to be support driver for a little bit of the time. So because it's pretty much, I think, impossible to do a solo walk at age 68 if you're not camping across North Dakota unless you have some help.
I would imagine, yeah. It's one of those things where when you're driving a significant distance, you have to actually check, like, is there going to be a gas station in this town, or is this one of the places that's no services, no nothing, which is not something that you generally have to contend with in a state like California.
Exactly.
So that's definitely something to take into account.
And people have talked about the wind and all kinds of things I'm going to go across, and I'm not really worried about the wind at all. Maybe I'll regret saying that later, but I think that the wind is the least significant factor, or the weather, in relationship to how few the towns are. Because if there are towns, you see, most of the time in my normal life, I like to be away from towns, and I like to be in rural areas, or I like to be in beautiful areas. But on this trip, you need, when you see towns, you get happy because you know there's services,
Yes.
you know there's ice water someplace, and you know it's hard to imagine how grateful I feel just for ice water, because when I go into a store, a convenience store, and I tell people that I said I'm walking across the United States and I was wondering if I could get a cup of ice water. Oh my God, they said go get some ice water over there and use the bathroom and whatever. And I'm just like so happy. I mean, normally under the circumstances, you know, at home, you don't get that excited about ice water.
Right.
But it's so grateful because I'm out here by myself, you know. And so I really, every single thing that a person does, it's like I'll remember it the rest of my life, you know.
That's fantastic. Well, we got you here before your appearance at City Hall, which I know is coming up at
Yeah,
4 o'clock. Just tell me a little bit about what that's going to entail, what you're going to be talking about there. I assume much of the similar things that we've touched on here, but
Yeah.
just what you'll be doing there and what we can look forward to.
Yeah. Well, at 4, I don't really have anything necessarily planned, but I was just going to be open for questions, whatever questions people have, because I could, you know, normally I can just go on and on and on about, you know, about health equity and social determinants of health and all of the different things that that are the case. And so I'll be talking just, again, whatever the people have the most interest in. And of course, the issue of health equity, I would, although this is a great adventure and I'm enjoying it and it's great personally, that I wouldn't be out here if it wasn't for the cause of health equity. Because as a Caucasian man, I want to be able to walk in the shoes of the other. I want to be out there saying, I care about every human being, refugee, immigrant, black, white, Hispanic, whoever. I want every person to have the optimal for health, because I've always had the opportunity to be healthy. All the things, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth, but I did have, you know, whenever I go to, wherever I go, people open the door for me, you know, and I want everybody else to have the experience as I do.
All right. Well, if you want to have a great conversation with Dennis like I just did, you heard the man. Make sure you swing by City Hall at 4 o'clock. That's where he'll be. And then maybe catch you out somewhere else after. I know that there's going to be, you asked for recommendations on traveling through towns. You mentioned a micro or a craft brewery. There's going to be recommendations in the comments about that. I know some Icewind fans and such are going to come through and mention some stuff. So hopefully they'll get to see you out there too.
That would be great.
I just really appreciate you taking the time to drop by the studio and tell me a little bit about the cause.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us right now on the Valley News Now digital desk. But we got plenty of other stuff coming up for the rest of the day. There's going to be another interview at 3 o'clock, then potentially some politics happenings later on in the evening after our afternoon broadcast. So make sure to keep tuning into Facebook, watch everything that we're putting out there, watch our shows, and I appreciate you for tuning in. Have a good rest of your day, everybody.